In this video, I'm going to teach you how to take your Yomega Dash, as you can see, and turn it into an unresponsive yo-yo. Now these yo-yos normally come very responsive. They have a very aggressive response system. So I'm going to show you how to take that out and replace it with silicone so that you can make it into an unresponsive yo-yo. The same mod will work for a Yomega Maverick as well because the yo-yos are so similar. So what you'll need for this is, of course, your yo-yo. You're going to need a clean bearing. You'll also want a small screwdriver, something you can use to get the old response system out, as well as your flowable silicone. So once you've got all of that, then you're ready to go. So all of these, the silicone, the bearing, and the yo-yo, you can get those as a kit on yotricks.com if you want to do this from scratch. So first of all, of course, you want to take your yo-yo apart. You've got the extra bolt here, and so that will just unscrew, and you can just set that off to the side. You won't need that for this mod. And then you can take the old bearing right out. Usually these come out pretty easy, and you won't be needing that again. You can try to clean the old bearing, but in my experience, the Yomega bearings do not clean up very well. Usually they end up playing very gritty. If you can find a way to clean it, then you wouldn't need the clean bearing that comes in the kit, but we found it's easier to just swap the bearing out. So if you look at the yo-yo, what you're going to see is that you've got your silver spacer in here, and then there's this blue material that's kind of rubbery. That's the old response system, and so we're going to use our screwdriver to just take that out. And you can just get right in there and kind of pry it free. You might find it's a little bit easier to get the spacer out first. Now as you're doing this, you may be concerned that you're going to scrape the yo-yo up a little bit. If you're not careful, you will be scraping the inside of this anodizing right in here, but that's not a big deal because that has nothing to do with how the yo-yo plays. You do want to make sure to keep the post where the bearing sits from being scratched because that will affect how it plays. So once you get the spacer out, then you want to remove this little rubber piece here, and that should come right out once the spacer's gone. And again, you won't need this again, so you can just set this off to the side. And we're going to take the spacer and use it in just a minute. And so I'll explain what we're going to do first. If you look at the yo-yo, you can see there's kind of like a deeper portion, and then there's this flat area right here. The flat area is where the spacer sits. So what we're going to do first is take our silicone and fill up this bottom area, but not all the way up to where the spacer is going to sit on this flat platform here. Then we're going to put the spacer on it, and then we're going to fill it up the rest of the way. And that means that the spacer will fit in perfectly, but the silicone will come up around it and it will actually hold it in place. So it's a pretty nice mod, and it works pretty great. So again, just get your flowable silicone. You're going to take your yo-yo right here, and just, you can be pretty generous with this stuff because it'll even itself out. So just start by pouring it around the bottom. And like I said, you don't have to be too awful careful. You just want to try to keep it from getting on that top platform where the spacer is going to sit. So, and you don't need to fill it all the way up because in the second part we're gonna get the rest of it. So if you just look in there, you can hardly see it because it's reflective, but I haven't got the silicone on top of that platform. Now I'm just going to take the spacer and set it right on there. Make sure that you put it in the right direction so that it holds the bearing properly. And now that we've got it in, it's sitting there perfectly, so we're going to just take the silicone and we're going to bring it in all the way around. And you want to bring it so that it's almost up to the top of where the spacer sits, but not all the way up to the level of the spacer. Part of the reason we're replacing this blue response system with silicone is so that the silicone can sit a little bit lower. So like I said, we're going to fill it up so that it grabs when it hardens, it'll grab the spacer and hold it in place, but we're not going to fill it all the way up because then it's basically just going to be exactly like having the old response system in. So again, you want to be a little bit more careful this time, but it's really not a big deal. The silicone will flatten itself out. So just kind of work your way all the way around. And the nice thing about the flowable silicone is if you do it a little bit uneven in one place, or if you don't put quite enough in, you can always just go back around the other way. And as long as it dries on a level surface, then it'll work itself out, no problem. So the higher you bring the silicone, the tighter your binds are going to be. But if you make it too high, you might have a hard time keeping it perfectly unresponsive, and so it's kind of up to you as far as that goes. But we'll take a look. We'll see. It might be kind of hard to tell how high I filled it up, but it is, once it hardens, it is going to be grabbing onto that spacer, so the spacer won't come back out again. And you just do the same thing to the other side. Once you're done, you can take your bearing and you can put it right back in, put it back together. As long as the bearing's clean, then it's going to be playing perfectly unresponsive. One thing with this one is, just like any yo-yo, this bearing comes perfectly clean. You may want to consider putting in a few really, really teeny drops, maybe just one on each side, of a thin lube, and that will preserve the life of the bearing, but it should help it to stay unresponsive. So give that, I don't know, about 24 hours to dry. Once you've done both sides, throw the bearing in, take your bolt, and just put the whole thing back together, and you will be good to go. And that is how you mod a Dash or a Yomega Maverick into an unresponsive yo-yo.